Today is a glorious day for our Sonic the Hedgehog fans. Sonic Dash has landed and it looks amazing. For those of you just hearing about the title, Sonic Dash is an endless runner developed by Hardlight Studios. Sonic Dash takes place in Seaside Hill, one of the stages found in Sonic Adventure and Sonic Generations. How does the game stack up? Let's jump straight in. As an endless runner, it's not difficult to see where Sonic Dash gets its inspiration. The game is in the Temple Run style, a 3D third-person action game using tap and swipe gestures to guide your hero. In fact, Sonic fits so unbelievably well into this style of game, it's hard to imagine why Sega waited this long to bring us a title like this. Your little blue hedgehog is running, endlessly. The player swipes left and right to change the lane the Sonic is in. Swiping up makes the character jump, and swiping down not only causes Sonic to perform a rolling maneuver, but brings you quickly back to solid ground if airborne. As with all Sonic titles, of course you'll be collecting rings as you go. These not only act as the primary currency of the game, but grant the player immunity from death should they run into an obstacle, at the cost of all the rings in your possession. Sonic Dash requires the player to bank these between each stage of the game to upgrade the character when not playing. Interestingly, the player has the choice of either doing this or risking all the rings you've collected so far by choosing not to bank them and instead choosing one of the alternative paths. By doing this, you have the chance to gain bonus rings and see different sections of the game, like Sonic's iconic loop-de-loops. During these sections, the camera zooms out and gives a more cinematic feel. The player can still manipulate Sonic during these parts, and although it's difficult to see what's actually going on, it's still a nice feeling collecting a few rings along the way. That's pretty much it. Run for as long as you can, jumping, spinning, and attacking while collecting rings and power-ups. Endless runner staples like the magnet that temporarily allow you to collect all rings you run past without having to touch them. There are a few major differences between this and its distant cousin Temple Run. First of all, while the game is on par graphically with Temple Run 2, Sonic Dash seems much faster. The sense of speed you get from our little blue-haired friend is pretty damn good, and the graphics look amazing on the iPhone 5's Retina display. As with most endless runners, the game leans heavily towards in-app purchases. No, you don't necessarily have to spend your cash, as both rings and the game's secondary currency, red stars, can be earned, albeit slowly, through normal play. Even though it's unfortunate that the game industry, and mobile gaming specifically, is headed down this path, I generally don't have a problem with it. Some games, however, tend to feel a little heavy-handed, almost exploitative, and unfortunately Sonic Dash is no exception. The cost of the unlockable characters is pretty high. You'll need to be playing a considerable amount before being able to afford these without spending some real-world money. Unfortunately, unlocking extra characters does nothing more than change the skin of the hero. The gameplay remains exactly the same. Now, the game does grant a few bonus stars here and there, but this seems to be nothing more than a mind-washing technique, getting the player in the mind frame that these shiny red stars are not only necessary, but rare and special. This ties in heavily with my second gripe. When the player dies, instead of being able to spend a boost purchased with primary currency, like what the original Temple Run allowed you to do, you now have the opportunity to continue your run with expendable continues purchased with red stars. This will unfortunately allow players who spend a lot of cash to quickly rise to the top of the leaderboards, which brings me to my next point. I hate to say it, but the game feels dangerously close to being unfair. You see, the level design, or more specifically the layout of the tracks, can be, well, difficult. It's an all too common occurrence that you'll find a spiky enemy on the opposite side of a wall, or wall and beam segments packed so closely together that there's really nothing the player can do except run into an obstacle and bring their run to an end. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is extremely difficult. This is not a casual runner. A few of the game mechanics weren't covered very clearly during the tutorial. The first being that the segments where you need to jump a large chasm and dash attack a shark to cross the gap. The game tells you to jump and tap accordingly, however the speed at which you need to comprehend and execute this move, especially the first couple of times, is pretty silly. Also, the ability to swipe down to return quickly to the ground wasn't covered at all, and trust me, this is vital during those closely packed together sections I was referring to before. It also would have been nice to see a tilt to move mechanic for a more visceral experience rather than the changing fixed lanes by swiping, but for the most part this doesn't hamper the experience too much. Sonic Dash is an excellent game, there's no doubt about it, but it just feels really commercial. Sure, companies need to make money, but considering the game will already set you back $1.99, it would have been nice to see the game being a little more forgiving. Hardcore Sonic fans and fans of the endless runner genre will find a great deal of enjoyment here. The game is universal, so it will run on iPad and iPhone. There'll be a link in the description below. Thanks for joining me, folks. This has been Alex for Game Mob. That's www.gamemob.com.